All right, let's start with how your HYROX training has been going since we spoke. I think you were on this podcast about 9 months to 12 months ago. How's things been training wise since then?
That's right, mate. It's oh God, it's been frustrating, mate. It's been frustrating. I did HYROX Birmingham, and then I was starting to prepare for pros in Manchester, and I, I had a reconstruction on my knee just after I left the Marines, and anytime I put serious load through it, either like weights or running, it starts to flare up. My meniscus, my medial meniscus. So I was kind of in really, really good condition, really looking forward to it. And I had to pull out literally, I'd kind of semi pulled out on the day, but sorry, a week before, but on the day I called it, I got it strapped, but it kept clicking every time I was running, it was like clicking out. And I was absolutely devastated, mate. It was the first kind of significant kind of injury that I've had that's restricted me from competition. And I was just, I would took me quite a bit to get over that. But yeah, mate. And then I had another one, another pros booked in London. I had to pull out of that one. I pulled out of that one quite quick, and then I had one in Birmingham, which I pulled out of now. So I'm just waiting for a meniscus reconstruction, not
Okay.
reconstruction. Getting keel and just getting my meniscus shaved off a bit.
And then what's the recovery period from that when you have that done?
Hopefully not too long, mate. Hopefully not too long. I'm
Oh, good.
hoping it'll be done and dusted in a matter of weeks, really, the recovery. I'm still training really, really hard, mate, and keeping myself in good condition so I can recover quicker from the other end. So that's what I want to do, mate. But I'm aiming at now, next year now. I want to just, if I can get it done this year, recover, and then go into next year and really look to kind of make my own personal impact on it from what I want to get out of it. Yeah.
What are you doing training wise? Like you can't run, you're just doing bike and ski and row and
Well,
stuff,
I
are you?
can run, mate. I can run now. At the
Oh,
very start of it, for about 3 or 4 months, I couldn't run. Every time I run, I got like a really weird clicking at the back of my knee, which felt like it were like kind of coming out. It was really, really strange. But yeah, but now, mate, I can run. I can do everything. It kind of, I can feel it a bit sometimes, and sometimes I'm like cognitively aware of it. But in general, I'm really good. I'm in good condition. I can do everything. I could do a high rocks. The problem is that when I kind of really get specific and start doing the load in preparation for the comps, my knee kind of just can't hold up, and I hate that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
really, really frustrating. It frustrated the life out of me at the beginning of the year, but now I feel all right.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Well, um, let's talk about the new book. So you've got a new book coming out. Like last
I have,
time we
mate.
spoke a lot about
Here we go.
your initial book, which was the becoming a 0.1%, and this one is the 0.1% Academy.
Yes.
Uh, tell us about how it came about.
Yeah, so I just finished writing Becoming, mate. And Becoming the 0.1% got published. And I were in the back of a taxi outside uh, some apartments in London. And an article had just come out by Piers Morgan saying that he thought that Simone Biles were weak mentally because she pulled out of the Olympics because of the twisties or the twisting issue in gymnastics. Uh, and he published this, I think it were in the Daily Mail or whatever, just some editorial that we were working for at the time. And he were ranting and raving online on Twitter and stuff, and he got such following of people and stuff. And I know that he manipulates the narrative, does Pierce and stuff. But I just thought if he thinks that, I suppose from the comfort of an armchair, that mindset and even at an elite level is fixed, and that once you've kind of attained it and you've got it, you've got it forever without any need for investment or or maintenance, then I'm going to write about it. So I quickly wrote down in the back of this taxi driver's diary a 7 phase model of what I thought was like a deconstruction of the growth mindset, so that you build mindset and you you get it finely tuned for a specific venture or goal or whatever you're doing. And then you have an anticlimax of success. How do you get over that? And then what happens when you remove the stimulus? So what happens when you've done a high rocks and you haven't got another one planned? arguably, is your training still as intense? Are you still as focused? Is your diet still as good? No, it's not. So I looked at like removing the stimulus for in any kind of walk of life, in if it's in professional sport, business, or whatever. We constantly need a stimulus and a purpose. And then looked at maintaining behavioral alignment and how we do that, uh, keeping the stimulus alive, for example. And then there were kind of like, once you're at premium, at optimum kind of mindset, kind of optimization and delivery, you've got to be careful, because if you keep pushing without any kind of effective mitigation or monitoring yourself and how you're feeling, you'll end up going into like cognitive exhaustion and burnout, and then further into mental illness. So I worked on this model really that you could look at and kind of see within yourselves, these key markers, these fundamental markers of, I suppose you want to call it, performance or goal alignment, and then looked at how you can, when you get into cognitive exhaustion or burnout, move back up the model back into behavioral alignment, so you can maintain success for longer from a mental a mindset perspective.
Okay. So it's like it's seven stages.
Yeah.
So it's like seven areas to be aware of to optimize your mindset. Is it seven steps to work through, 7 steps to score yourself for? Is it
Yeah,
how
I
should
mean,
people think about it?
yeah, I mean, it's a good question, mate. It's kind of like, if we use the first phase, which is cultivating mental toughness, it's um, how do you cultivate it? I talk about how you cultivate it, from literally jumping off your settee to getting really, really mentally robust, and how you do it, and what I've done, and some of the teachings that I took from the Royal Marines and elite sport and stuff like that, and what I've worked and what I've reflected on, and then underpinned it by psychology and stuff, and just looked at like ways you can delay gratification, how you can uh, become more mentally tough through doing hard things,
Mhm.
and subjecting yourself to hard things, even when you don't want to, is really, really important for cultivating mental toughness. And just talked about how we can do that, various examples, how I've done it before, and then backed it up with like psychological theory and analysis, really.
Okay. And
And
these
done
are
that throughout,
this
mate.
is something. Sorry, this is something that's like I think you sort of say it's for peak performance. But it's essentially going to be like for everyone to apply to their lives in some ways. It's not just for the Simone Biles of the world.
Definitely
Um,
not. No, no, it deconstructs the elite mindset, mate. And what I do in the first three chapters is kind of uh, debunk the elite mindset, or what people think is people that are just. I use myself as an example of like going into Marines training. I thought that I would, at the end of it, be completely emotionless, be like the fictional character of Rambo, where you're just emotionless at the point of vacancy. But you're completely not. You're still the same person at the end of training. You've just learned how to manage yourself differently through emotional regulation and monitoring. So I just kind of paint that picture. I look at the reality of mindset, the misconception of mindset, and then the link between mindset and success. And I like draw on a study in chapter 3 of um, twin studies, looking at twins, that biological identical twins that have been separated at birth, uh, and then you study them when they get older and see if their
mhm,
environment has created success, or whether it were down to the nature or nurture debate. So there's quite a
mhm.
fascinating kind of insight, really. Um, and yeah, it's for everybody to take something from it. It's deconstructing what we believe certain people in the public eye or out in the streets when they do obscure and taboo jobs, i.e., the military and whatnot. You think they're emotionless, you think they're trained killers and whatnot. It's not the case. I wanted to debunk that and kind of humanize it, and just give everybody the inspiration, really, that they can go off and do whatever they want to do with the right application.
Okay, nice. I was going to ask actually, do you feel like programs like SAS, Who Dares Wins, like as a guy who's come from the military background, do you feel like that programs like that sometimes give um like a false impression of what the mindset is like of these elite military guys?
Yeah, I think the programs themselves, the SAS Who Dares Wins, it's very consumable, mate. It's nothing like selection. but it's very on point, and they've done it very, very well. And that is a percentage, but very much in line with how it is and what they do to you on a very, very small scale. I think where the mis-selling is done is that some, not all, but some of these lads and some people with that really represent or want to live up to this representation of stoicism, they sell it short because it's just like, just get up, don't make excuses, just get on with it, stop whining, stop complaining. It's not a representation of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not accurate. It's not an accurate representation of mindset. They portray and paint mindset that's almost unobtainable. To they say that this is where they are, and that's probably where they're at any given time, or that's probably where the baseline is, or whatnot. But they don't tell you how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't tell you what to
And
do.
and I guess the danger is that when someone's like in a situation and their mindset's not in that place and it's not completely stoic, and they think
Yeah,
it should be like that, they almost beat themselves up over the fact that it's not, right.
exactly, exactly. I think there's elements of stoicism in this stoic mindset that are dangerous. I
Mm-hmm.
think like I talk about the resilience paradox. I think it's chapter, what will it be? I don't know, chapter 9 or something like that. But I talk about the resilience paradox, how we get resilience wrong, and how we think that resilience is a cloak that we can put on, and it's this ever enduring concept that we can hide behind, and uh, it disproportionately affects men to be resilient in society. Uh, and ultimately, what it does is it restricts us from speaking out. We push on and push on at the neglect of his own emotions and regulation and stuff. And we fall deeper into burnout and mental health issues. And trying to ascertain elements of that, I think sometimes it's just naturally unattainable. You can't do it because of where you are in life, the external pulls that you've got, uh, relationship issues, anything like that can really derail you. And to be stoic every day is unattainable.
Mm-hmm. um let's without obviously reading the whole book to the listeners, can we go through the 7 stages and talk about those some more, and like how
Yeah,
you
absolutely,
developed them,
mate.
how you came up with them.
Yeah, so I'll reference I'll actually reference the book. So I mean, I started off with a misconception of elite mindsets, and that's where I kind of drew upon my own. And now the identity of being a Royal Marine, ex-Royal Marine, is so rigid, mate. Like, people just think that I'm just this guy that can, uh, I don't know, beat everybody up. That I'm not uh, slightly phased by physical confrontation and stuff like that. And it's all it's all untrue, but it's a really rigid identity that kind of, it does restrict you from various opportunities and jobs, and people always, they look at that and then they kind of make their interpretation of you. And that's good. It's all well and good when you're a young lad
Mm-hmm.
because you like to sail off the back of that. But when you get a bit older, you get a bit bored of it. But you can't get rid of that rigid identity. So I talk about the misconception of mindset development and ability. So I look at, where does it develop from? Is it nature? Is it nurture? And then I look at ability, shine a light on ability, like, and forensically deconstruct ability. A bit like what Gladwell does in Outliers in terms of success, looking at uh, the hours of investment in order to create perfectionism or mastery and stuff. The reality of mindset, just kind of where I think it is and where 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 it could go and what we need to do in terms of what the current literature that's out there. Again, looking at the twin studies and stuff. And then phase 1 is cultivating mental toughness. Um, phase 2, the anticlimax of success. Phase 3, removing the stimulus. Phase 4 is maintaining behavioral alignment. Phase 5, the resilience paradox. Phase 7, preventing burnout. And then finally, mate, I talk about mental health and mental health success and my own experience. And I draw upon like how we all feel as adults around Christmas, that we kind of bizarrely we wanting to still feel the magic that we felt when we were a child. of Christmas Day, and we arrive there, and we kind of like, oh God, is this it? And we get this massive anticlimax, when really the magic and the beauty and the joy and everything were had in the days leading up to it, but we just miss it
Hmm.
because all we're doing is looking into the future,
Hmm.
and we're wanting to have this amazing fictional day that's never going to happen. And then I just interviewed various people, mate. I interviewed 6 or 7, like a variety of like quite exceptional people, just to understand the why they were doing it, why they do what they do, how they maintain behavioral alignment, uh, how do they get over the distractions, uh, and various other things, mate. So it was a tough project, really, really, really tough project, and a complex one as well. But I'm really delighted with where we've landed now.
Okay, awesome. So the on that, like the step two, the anticlimax of success, which I think you sort of just touched on, but I guess like applying that in a HYROX context is everyone's trying to work towards a time and a finishing time or position, but really it doesn't matter that much. And
Oh,
I guess once you do achieve that, maybe it's you enjoy it for a couple of minutes before you start thinking about your next goal, if you're anything
it's
like
all,
me, at least.
yeah, exactly. It's all that, and we're all. I think everybody that competes to a certain extent, or a majority of people that compete and continue to compete, they suffer that. I even talked about this yesterday over breakfast with the ex-Leeds Rhinos coach about how you keep getting up after a win or a loss, or predominantly a win. When if you've won everything, what happens the next day? Like he was saying, like the next day, it's just we're on to the next. We enjoy it for a bit, and we're on to the next. And coming back to your question on HYROX, mate, it's exactly that. I actually enjoy the journey and the training and the preparation. And
Mm-hmm.
the day for me is just kind of it's the coming of the end. It's just that's winding down. I mean, I do want to get a great time. I want to eventually try and have a bash at qualifying for Worlds. That's my goal in HYROX. Uh, but I think that we put too much emphasis on how we're going to feel. They're doing a psychological study on high achievers and highly competitive people, and we always over project how we're going to feel at the end, and ultimately that's where depression comes. And I look at the anticlimax of success as mental optimization. You mentally optimized at that point when you start racing at HYROX, or you should be, or you're as good as what you're going to get. You might have some pulls or whatever from a mental perspective, but your body and your mental optimization is at its peak. And the only way for it to come after competition is down.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have disillusionment. You're gonna potentially get depressed, and uh, you're gonna get the anticlimax of success. You might even start getting elements of mental illness, but that's just we never acknowledge that that's part of the process. Maybe that's a natural part of the process. That's just how it goes because we've built up, we've built up, we've built up, and what goes up must come down, especially in
Mm-hmm.
energy, right? So that's what I kind of look at and try and explore and trying to shine a light on that just to try and I use an example of Bradley Wiggins in it during the lesson who won the Tour de France, and then all of a sudden, uh, because he all his life he wanted to win that and he won it, and then his life just fell apart after. A lot of it would to do with his routine went and his structure and stuff, and he retired from the sport. But ultimately, he got what he wanted, and he weren't happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think, like, anecdotally, like, I think I see it probably post Nice, the World Championships. There's just like
Yeah,
a lot of people just like dedicate hours of their lives to this sport
yeah,
in the lead up to something like the World Champs, and then like immediately after that, there's not an event for whatever 4 months, and it's just like,
and straight away, mate, your purpose is gone, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Purpose is gone. All your habits, all your habitual behavior, everything that you've been doing on a daily basis. I say this to my partner now. It's like HYROX is brilliant because they make every single other aspect of your life disciplined if you're dedicated. And it's a brilliant feeling. Your diet's on point, your training's got purpose. Everything you're doing is like with purpose. You're training really hard. You're pushing yourself, trying to push the boundaries of of performance to try and get better, to give yourself a more easier ride on the day.
Hmm.
But ultimately, you arrive at the back end of it, and I've always been underwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah.
I've always been underwhelmed from HYROX and from other competitions and from all the things that I've kind of done. I've always been underwhelmed, and I'm just learning now that it's the journey that I enjoy.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
the I mean, this book comes out tomorrow, mate, and that's been like a 3-year project. And I already know tomorrow I'm not really going to feel anything when it comes out. But I've enjoyed the process. Do you know,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the process of it, and now it's just a sense of relief. I think that's what it is. In IROX, in a lot of people could probably relate to just and other competitions, it's just a sense of relief
Hmm. Hmm.
on it.
But
Uh,
if anything, like it also shows you like the importance of doing something like that, because people like us after the event, it's like, oh, like it's almost like a come down, and you're lost because you're not working towards that thing. But at the same time, like without it, like there's a lot of people in day-to-day life not working towards anything without that goal, and
yeah,
they're probably got depression, whatever, as a result of it, because they're
yeah,
not striving towards anything at any point in time.
exactly.
um yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I often say, I just say like I say to like I've got like mindset clients, and I'm just like, what's your purpose? And they might say like, oh well, I don't know, I'm a PT, I'm this and that, and I'm no, but no, but what is your purpose? Who are you? And what makes you tick is if you had like 6 hours to live at the end of your life, and somebody came in and said, right, you'll be gone in 4 hours. Are you happy with what you've done? Uh, and I think that key question there just opens up a great deal of reflection in people. And it's like, why are you doing it? We all need a purpose. And when you pull that purpose or that stimulus away, i.e., post competition in IROX, you almost need to reload and go again. But you're going to run into burnout if you're not careful, or you need to create another stimulus or
Mm.
keep the stimulus alive. So you just got to be aware of it. I just don't think we're aware of it. We feel like, I think we always feel we can ride off the back of a win, and you can't.
Yeah, yeah. That's like, it's almost like the importance of like just a discussion like this, or like having a chapter in the book, is like just making people aware that this is the reason for it. And
Exactly.
there's lots of people going through the same thing. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, how we feel is very, very generic. We all kind of feel it to some extent. We all feel these emotions, but we never kind of we internalize it. We don't really. I suppose we probably talk about it to us close ones, but it's not a thing that is an open thing that we all feel, because I think we feel guilty about it
Hmm.
a bit, and we feel a bit embarrassed. And talking about how you feel about it is is often embarrassing, isn't it? And whatnot. And if you get interviewed and you're like, oh, I don't really, I'm on to the next thing, or I don't really feel anything. You can't really say that. Can you? Oh, I'm delighted, I'm absolutely over the moon. But inside, you've got this conflict where you're
Yeah,
like, that's not what I thought we were going to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it feels like a bit of a like first world problem in a way, because
Exactly.
there's people with a million worse things going on, but at the
Yeah.
same time, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
What about I mean, some of the steps sort of speak for themselves, but how about removing the stimulus? Step three. Can you explain what that's about a little bit?
Yes, mate. Yeah. So removing the stimulus, it were kind of like, um again, I talked about, I interviewed a doctor that's in elite coaching performance. He was an elite rugby league coach for England and Great Britain and stuff, and he's now a PhD, gone into elite coaching and stuff. And I talked to him about what he felt about removing the stimulus, or what happens when you're away from a specific environment, i.e., you're at home and you're away from your elite environment, if you're in elite sport and stuff, and uh, how we can maintain the stimulus, what we can do psychologically to keep the stimulus strong, so it maintains our behavioural alignment. So what keeps you disciplined and dedicated? We all need it. Everybody needs it. And if you're liking it to something very, very simple, if you've got like a wedding that's coming up, uh, women generally like to get in shape for the wedding dress and stuff. Or if you've got an holiday coming up, men and women like to potentially get in shape and stuff for the holiday. But once the holiday or the wedding's finished, what have you got to maintain that behavior?
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? What maintains performance? Is it lifestyle? Do you have to do fundamental lifestyle changes? Well, the short answer is yeah, if you want to keep your stay where you are. But it just looks at I suppose the vulnerability really of the psychological condition. Like from a non-elite, I suppose your person that doesn't compete to your person that competes at the highest level all suffer from it. What's keeping your behavior or not keeping your behavior maintained? So just look at how we maintain the stimulus, how we create one, uh, how we can fortify it, and how we can maintain it, and the
Okay.
dangers of or the not the dangers, but the negative impacts on performance that can happen if you don't put the work in on the stimulus.
Is it in some ways as well about optimizing your environment through all aspects of life? So, like you sort of touched on, like maybe you go training at this rugby league, Premier League club or whatever, and then you come home and the environment isn't optimized like that, and
Right.
it sort of disrupts
Yeah.
the stimulus in some ways. Like, do you sort of like encourage people to think about the environment in all aspects of their life?
All aspects, mate. Yeah. Ultimately, what it kind of leads on to is having fundamental attention to detail in your life in all aspects. When I interviewed the doctor, he said that what they did in elite sport was they did a points away from work or points away from the ground system on lifestyle. So if you were hitting certain lifestyle things away from the ground as a professional, right? And people don't think that professionals need this, but they do. If you were hitting these things, you got scored and pointed, uh, and it were a way of keeping everybody in line away from the ground or the training pitch or the game, uh, but also looking at if the stats had become vulnerable because they weren't in the structure, in the routine, in the elite environment. They come out of these elite
Mm-hmm.
environments that are all structured and routined into nothing. And some people don't cope well with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they get tied up in other kind of distractions and devious behavior and stuff. So we looked at that. So it was really, really like in depth, but just really consumable for all people. So wherever you are or whatever you want to get out of anything, or if you just want to make a start, it kind of it documents it in there.
Okay, nice. Um, how about the resilience paradox? Step five. What's
Yeah.
that about?
So well, mate, I knew that this were a key phase of it, were to shine a light on resilience. Because I've applied resilience, mate. You learn, I suppose, so much toughness and resilience going through training, and being in that environment in the Marines and in private security demands that, and you constantly apply it, and often it's at the complete detriment of your mental health. Like there's been times when I've applied it to stay out longer than I could cognitively cope in Somalia or Afghanistan or places like that, just to earn the money. And just thought, come on, you can do this. You've done harder things before. You've got the ex-Royal Marine Commando. You can do this. But mate, I've been falling apart, and I've needed rest. I've needed to come home, but I've stayed out, tried to earn the money in private, and it's been at the absolute detriment of my mental health. I.e., my OCD's got really, really, really bad. Started getting intrusive thoughts that I can't control, uh, which is systemic of really, really bad OCD. Uh, but I look at how we should reconceptualize resilience and look at it like it's cognitive endurance in order to maintain performance and maintain our, I suppose, resilience, but look after ourselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
If we use resilience as a cloak for everything, it's like, are you okay, mate? And you're like, yeah, yeah, I'm fine. And you're not all right. And you want to show that you're strong. You want to show that you've got it together, and that
Mm-hmm.
you're coping. When really, sometimes you're not. I mean, all like last year, I had a really tough year at work because I had some stuff going on in my personal life, and whether you want to or not, it follows you. and it were following me to work, and I were making mistakes, and I were distracted and whatnot, and I was just constantly trying to, instead of putting my hand up and saying, you know what, I'm not right here, I need a bit of time. Uh, I kept pushing on and just thought that I could kind of, with my cloak of resilience, just kind of walk through it. But ultimately, you can't. You need to take a step back sometimes.
Yeah. Funnily enough, like I don't know if you saw, like I interviewed Hunter McIntyre last week.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and he talked about how he was overtrained for the World Championships and
Mm.
maybe done too much. And then someone was asking me yesterday, like, do I think this might change the narrative within HYROX that more work, more intensity is the way to go? Because clearly there's a point where Hunter went beyond and
Yeah.
overtrained and like
Recover,
underperformed
right?
as a result. And this
Recover. Yeah.
it's an interesting thought, and it's kind of like similar thing. It's not always
It's
about doing more.
it's exactly the same themes, but from obviously his psychology's gone into his behavioural kind of output, and it's created that because he's relentless, and he? You can just tell he's just a relentless guy. So he's
Mm.
just got more output, more gains, and we all get it wrong. I'll get it wrong again in future, no doubt, but at least I've got an understanding of it. Uh, I talk about how resilience should be. We should look at it like cycling. You know, like you cycle your physical endurance to peak. Then you have a period of coming down, extending your baseline and all stuff like that. It's exactly what we should do with mindset.
Mm.
Maintain as cognitive resources and as to revitalize us, keep us in a really, really good kind of psychological place. But we don't. We just boom, 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 because we're under this kind of illusionary barrier that we're resilient. We're practicing resilient. Hunter, like he's living up to an identity that an expectation, right? That must be a tough thing to carry. That
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where people are like almost expecting him to win. That is that healthy for him? Do you know what I mean? It's one of them things, isn't it? Is that what's driving him? Is that what drove him into burnout and stuff? It's those kind of questions that I ask in the resilience paradox phase, and look at, based on my own stories and experience and psychology, how we can kind of identify it and look at how we can uh, go towards goal alignment and arrive at the finish line in a better place.
Okay. So sort of like you talked about the fluidity of mindset, and it's not fixed, and everyone goes through ebbs and flows. But so clearly, like mindset is something to work on, and like awareness of these topics is I guess the first step. But are there certain things that people should do to work on their mindset? Certain exercises, anything springs to mind, like from that perspective?
I think one of the main things is, and what we must all learn to do is step outside of his comfort zone and do hard exposures that challenge us. And these are very obviously specific to the individual, but challenge yourself to do hard things, uncomfortable things where you encounter negative self-talk. And when you encounter that negative self-talk, that hard wiring that we're all hardwired with, it's like a practice path in order to counter it with positive reinforcement or positive self-talk. So it's kind of like the chimp paradox. You're learning to manage or overcome your chimp. He talks about it in the chimp paradox book. There's a short snippet where he just says your chimp should be trained and treated like a dog to kind of obey what you want to achieve and whatnot. And I thought it were absolutely fantastic. And ultimately, it's about these small exposures that you can slowly push the base on cognitively and become more mentally robust, and you keep pushing until you're, and this resonates, Greg, into all aspects of your life, mate. That's what this is about, really, is that if you do the hard things and you learn how to overcome negative self-talk, it goes into business, it goes
Mm-hmm.
into everything else. Nobody's kind of made a tangible link between hard physical exercise or exercise and how it improves your life in all different areas and how it makes you less vulnerable from uncontrollable aspects. So that's kind of like one of the, I suppose, a key takeaway is subject yourself to these exposures that cause you to confront and overcome your negative self-talk and learn how to do it because it has massive benefits and repercussions for relationships, for business, for sport, everything.
Okay. All right. Um, maybe away from the book a little bit, but like thinking about mindset during something like a HYROX for you, and I know you've not done as many as you'd like to because the injuries, but how is your mindset? Where is your mind before a race? Like, is there anxiety? Is there nerves? Is it excitement? Are you
Mate,
stoic?
I wasn't, mate. I was nervous. I was anxious. Uh, and I use this example a lot in talks, mate. Is like when I did my first HYROX at that point, I'd done like much harder things. Uh, Mountain training, Royal Marines training, all stuff like that, and various other things. And I got in the tent in Birmingham, and when it's counting down and that rocket's ready to erupt, my legs were hollow and my mouth were really dry, and I was like, I am, and I trained really well, mate, as you do, right? You know, I felt like I'd done all I could, and I landed in the best kind of physical condition. My knee were playing up a bit, but that's by the by. But I was like, God, I'm nervous. As it were counting down, I'm thinking like Jesus Christ, I don't feel great here. Do you know what I mean? My legs feel hollow. I've got butterflies, and then all of a sudden, mate, I just said like, when it got to a minute counter down, I just was like, you've been here before.
Mm.
You've done harder things, and that was me just kind of taking a couple of deep breaths, bringing myself, regulating myself, emotional regulation. But that's learned, and then just saying, look, you've been here before, I said that. Once I got that, that worked for me, and all the nerves kind of went, and I just thought, we're ready. We're ready to go. You've done harder things. You've been here before. And I said that while running around the track. You've been here before. You've been here before. Suffer now, suffer now. You've been here before. And I just kept repeating them kind of one-liners. And I felt like I was just on top of I were on top of the mental game. You're not always on top of the mental game. Sometimes it's a struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But during that, I were on top of it, and I felt great. And I thought, like proper enjoying this. I'm loving this, and as a result, I love the experience. But I did, mate. I had all the nerves that I suppose any human being would have prior. You got it's
Yeah.
the unknown, isn't it? You don't know what you're going into and how you're going to feel and how you're going to fare and stuff. So yeah,
And during the race, so it was primarily like you've been here before. You're sort of almost leaning on previous tough experiences to get you through like the tougher parts of the race. Is that like the narrative in your head?
that was the narrative, mate. Yeah, I mean, I got halfway around, and I think I were going into sandbag lunges, and my knee just kind of caught my meniscus a bit, and it's my knee down to my ankle went a bit numb and tingly, like it lost sensation. And I thought, oh my God, like it's going to play up. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? I'm not going to finish it off. But then I just kind of were like, no matter what happens, we're going through. No matter what happens, we'll see it through to the end. And this were all like the internal like kind of dialogue that I'm having with myself. And yeah, it was just it's a constant battle, right? It's a constant battle. It's not. It's you can be on one station and feel fantastic. You get onto burpee broad jumps and you feel like you're going to die. Do you know what I mean? And you just think,
Yeah,
oh, trying to run after that or after sledge push is you feel completely compromised, but you recover quickly, don't you?
yeah,
You
yeah.
recover and you feel differently then and on another phase of it. So it's a constant. That's what I love about HYROX. It's a constant kind of mental game strategy cat type thing, and you've got to be constantly aware of where you are and constantly talking to yourself and taking it all in and distracting yourself a bit. And that's what I love about HYROX. I
Mm.
like the mental game of it. The mental aspect of it is, do you absolutely fully send it on this? Do you hang back a bit? Are you focusing more on your run on a certain thing? I love all that side of it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Knowing like the anticlimax of success, uh, when you're going into something like High Rocks, do you how do you think about the goal setting? Are you thinking about a time that you want to achieve or a finishing position, or are you just like completely not thinking about that at all and just appreciative of the process that's got you there?
Yeah, again, mate, great question. On the first one, I wasn't. I wanted a good time. I wanted a good time. I think I wanted something like maybe sub 120, and that's what I wanted to get. Uh, and I got. I think I was with a partner, a female partner. We got 109, and I was delighted with that. I was really delighted with that for like a first run out. Uh, but then once I'd finished it, I was like, "There's more in there." And I could have trained harder and I can get close to an hour, if not sub hour. So that's me now, mate. I'm like, I want the close to an hour or the sub hour is what I want. That's what I want to train up to that, get money right. And that's now the new goal. So I think going into the subsequent ones that I do will be with that goal in mind that I want to get as close to, if not below the hour.
Okay.
And that's where I want to be.
But also appreciating that if you do it anyway,
But
it will
yeah,
be an
but just like,
anticlimax.
yeah, but just I could quite easily, which has always happened, mate, be like, right, well, that didn't really feel like I thought it were going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's,
definitely.
it's
I remember like, I got a PB in like London quite a while ago now, and I was just standing like in the warm down area, just like on my own, and I was just having a drink of water, and like I'd got a PB, and like just worked so hard for that, and then it's like right, what's next? You know?
you do, don't you, mate? Because like my mum said to me a few times, and a few other people, like, uh, are you not done like with, I suppose, writing books or going after like these elusive achievements and stuff? And mate, I'm not, and I don't think I ever will be. And I always thought that like my fulfillment was hinged on first coming out, second book coming out. And I know it's just not. And I've like really done a lot of work on myself, especially when becoming the 0.1% came out, because I felt such a sense of like deflation and underwhelmment. And I just thought, if I keep chasing these things, thinking that I'm going to find fulfillment at the end of it and I'm going to be happy, eternally happy forever, I'm chasing the wrong thing. The fulfillment's in somewhere else.
Mm.
Uh, so I just looked at it all differently, and I just thought, no matter what, I'll continue to write. I'll continue to go for the achievements because they're the challenges, and it's the process, the challenge that I enjoy, that we all kind of enjoy. But I don't think we take time to appreciate it. We think that we're gunning for a specific time or to just get to the very end of it. Uh, but um, but yeah, I just think that once you've achieved something, you maybe have like a day of euphoria or whatever, but the next day is the next day. That's then in the past, and that's
Yeah.
how I've always looked. You can't keep riding on it. What's done's done. Yeah, it's great that it's been done, and I'm happy and I'm privileged and proud of some of the stuff. But tomorrow's a new day, and you've got to get back up and get back on with it. So
Mm.
that's kind of where same what you've just been saying, mate. It's exactly the same.
So HYROX plans, uh, you're going to race with Jamie Peacock at some point, yeah, who's also been
Yes,
on this
mate.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Jamie did some work for book two. I was lucky enough. I got in touch with him. I said, "Mate, would you be up for an interview for book two?" And I'll interview you about because he had an unbelievable career in rugby league,
Mm-hmm.
and he went on and on and on, and he probably could have got a few more years out of himself. But I think he retired at 38, maybe just after. But his performance never wavered. He was just always that solid kind of performer and renowned for that. So I'm really interested to know just how he maintained his performance and how he got over it at the end. And I said to him, "How did you get over it?" And he just said, "Look, and this is in the book." He said, "I looked in the mirror and just were like, this is Jamie Peacock, uh, and rugby league is not Jamie Peacock. Jamie Peacock played rugby league." And he said, once I did that and I went through that process, I would just instantly let it go. It's like he left his previous existence in the mirror and he
Mm-hmm.
was able to move on. And I'm like, that's absolutely incredible. But yeah, we spoke about doing HYROX Pro doubles in Jan, if I'm right. So that's what I think we're gonna. If I'm good and I've got my operation done, I'm gonna get in touch and we'll start hopefully preparing for that.
Right, nice. Well, I'd love to see what you two can do out there.
Yeah, but
And,
yeah, it'd be interesting on that. Yeah, I'd
yeah.
really, really relish that opportunity, mate. It'd be great.
All right. All right. Nice. Well, thank you for this. Anything else I should have asked you about the book, or anything else you want to talk about?
No, no, no. Obviously, um, it's out tomorrow or out today, whenever goes out, mate. But yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But no,
All right.
that's
And
fantastic, mate. It's covered. It's covered absolutely everything that we wanted to get there.
okay. So it's the 0.1% Academy by Gareth Timmins. You can get it on Amazon. Yeah. You've got a website.
Yeah, I've got a website, mate, www.0.1.co.uk, where you can buy the book. There's signed copies on there as well, training programs and mindset coaching. And then my own website, which is more or less just gone live, which is gareth-timmins.com. You can catch me on for most things. But yeah, the book's available online, Amazon, uh, Waterstones for like a walking kind of thing, WH Smith's and Audible and Kindle and stuff. All major outlets, how you want to consume your books and stuff, it's available.
All right. Amazing. It sounds brilliant. I love the first book. I'm getting stuck into the second at the moment. So yeah, good luck with everything, mate. Appreciate this.
Cheers, mate. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me back on, mate. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting again, mate.
Cheers, mate.